Welcome to Spaghetti on the Wall, where we throw ideas, see what sticks, and nurture those that do. I'm your host, Armando Leduc, an actor, entrepreneur, and coach, giving you insights that light up your world. We're here to explore the realms of business, marketing, and life, serving up a shot of inspiration with every episode. Ready to make ideas stick and grow them into something great? Let's dive in. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on when you're consuming this podcast. Spaghetti on the Wall, back with another one. Devin Sizemore is in the house. How are you?
Wonderful, brother. Thanks for having me.
Dude, glad you came. Right before you came on, I was all like, this is going to be a really good episode, because I feel like you can be like preaching to the preacher, which I love. I love when we bring on people that are like, make sense, on the same wavelength, speaking from the same book, cut from the same cloth. And that's what I feel like it's going to be today, which is going to be really good, because I'm just going to be nodding my head all day, every day. He's going to be like, yep.
That's perfect, man.
Yep, listen to that. So this week on Spaghetti on the Wall, we're joined by Devin Sizemore, connection strategist, best-selling author of Connection Expansion, and the host of the ACES Connection Group. Devin helps professional entrepreneurs, leaders turn connections into real opportunities through purposeful networking, thriving communities, and trusted brand partnerships. So thanks for being on. Give me your epiphany moment where you're all like, this is what I want to do. This is why, I'm like, oh, this was the moment that sort of changed everything for you. And you're all like, this is the path I'm going to go down.
Yeah, there's two that I like to highlight. The first is, where the heck did the system come from? Because that is an interesting moment. I had a digital marketing agency, found myself in a crowded marketplace, a lot of competitors in the scarcity mindset. It was a race to the bottom on pricing. And I just knew there had to be a better way. And so I started building the system over 10 years ago to solve my own problem. 7 years ago, I was a generalist consultant, and I've owned a bunch of other companies. And I was sitting down with my mentor, and I'm like, man, I'm tired of being just a strategist. Like, it's hard to sell against every strategist. Like, I want to be unique. And he's like, well, what about this thing? Every client you talk to me about, you do this connection thing. And I'm like, oh, wait a second. Like, you're right. We do. We implement this strategy, and that's what's generating the biggest ROI. And so that was kind of my aha moment, to take this system that I had already built, I've already used, I'd already implemented, but really kind of make it more public facing and empower others to jump onto the system.
And so your case study number one, right? So tell me some of the problems that you were experiencing and how your system solves that problem.
Yeah, so it's the whole sales process. So it starts with, how do you show up to a networking event, and what events do you show up to? What questions do you ask, and how do you engage with the room? How do you follow up? When you're following up, how do you get people to take a meeting? Because that's the key, right? I met you, I got your info. I need you in a meeting so we can get to know each other and determine a path forward. After that meeting, whether you're going to be a client or not, how do I get the most value out of it for myself while adding value to you? And then how do I nurture long term? And so I went through the relationship cycle and dissected, how do we optimize every piece of this, from the language, the approach, the mentality, so that everyone can implement this, from a college kid to a billionaire, and get the same results.
And so did you start reverse engineering what you did in order to figure this out? Or how did you start planning the operational framework that you're all like, no matter what, if you follow this framework, you're going to get this result?
Yeah, so just started at the beginning with networking, right? Like, I needed to be in front of more people and, create new relationships. So when I was going to networking events, the challenge I gave myself is, how do I get more people's contact information, and how do I become memorable? Not memorable for the services I provide, but memorable because of how I approach networking and ask questions. And so that led me to think about, how do I show up? What do I wear? What's my brand appeal? And then what questions do I ask so I can get someone's business card, right? Because that's really the goal. If I can get your card at an event, I win. Whether you want to shove it at me because you think you're going to sell me later, I don't really care. If I get your information, I can push you into my follow-up process. And so I dissected that. And then naturally the next step is, okay, how do we follow up? What's the language? What's the subject? What's the email template, so that I can get you to take a meeting? Because that's the hardest part. We all go to these networking events and you end up with the business cards, right? There's a few sitting here from an event last week. and you do nothing with them. Or you follow up and you're so focused on selling, no one wants to book meetings because everyone feels like they're going to get sold. So we just started to figure out, okay, well, what language do I use so that 90% of the time you'll take a meeting with me, right? And then we just kept moving through the process and dissecting, how do I conduct the meeting? What questions do I ask? How do I follow up? And so I just went through my own process and just kept optimizing again and again and again. And then as you start teaching it, that's where you really start to figure out, ooh, okay, this is what works. This is what doesn't work.
So what are some of the common problems that you're seeing when people are going to these networking events or trying to create leads, and where are you seeing the flaws in their approach?
Yeah, it's just, 100%. So what I tell people, and this is my hook when I network, is I help people build businesses without chasing clients. And that usually gets people to kind of like sit back on their heels, like, well, wait a second, my elevator pitch is built for clients. I just got through this whole thing on ICP and my value proposition for clients and prospects. And now you're telling me not to go after clients. Yeah, 100%. So often when someone asks, hey, who can I connect you with? The default answer is an ideal client profile, right? This is my prospective client. That's who I want to meet. No. What that does is it creates so much friction, because what I'm asking is, hey, Joe, I want you to connect me to this ideal client. Joe has to go through his network and narrow it down to that specific client type. Then he has to introduce them to me, knowing that I'm going to sell to them. There's so much friction in there. Now, when the right time, right moment, right place fits, you'll get that. But instead, we have to shift our ask. And so this will change the way people network. There are 6 groups of people who have access to your clients: vendors, educators, trust, influence, where they gather, and connectors. All of those things are super valuable because that moves you from one-to-one to one to many to many to many, so that we can create leverage in the relationships we're building. And so if we go back to that networking room and we walk in just chasing prospects, you're going to take a room of 50 and narrow it down to what, 3, 4? And then you're making a ton of assumptions on, are they qualified? Is it the right time? Do they have the right money? That is so limiting. Instead, we go in the room and we take one of our core principles, which is there's value in every relationship. We meet everyone, talk to everyone, get their information. We follow up with everyone equally, because I don't know what their spouse does, what their brother, sister, uncle, cousins do. I don't know what they did before. I don't know what they're planning to do next. I don't know anything. Right. And all of those answers could dictate partnerships, client opportunities, stages, things that we could participate on. You mentioned you were just on a stage, right? How do I know that that person's not hosting an event? I don't. I just met them for 3 seconds, right? So that's where people go wrong, is they walk in the room chasing the next dollar. They don't walk in the room to actually build relationships and understand every one of those relationships matter, but you have to change your ask and you have to change how you show up.
Love it. So tell me a story of somebody that you guys started working with and what their transformation was like after working with you guys.
Yeah, I love this young realtor. This young realtor is the best, man. I was introduced to him like his first week in the industry. Young kid, like 21, I think. I think he barely could trade because I think we were joking about it in the first meeting. And he just started in the industry. He loved the investing side of it. He'd been studying it. He's like, dude, I want to get into real estate. His broker introduced him. He said, hey, go talk to Devin. I think your personality will align better with how he does it than dialing for dollars and the stuff they were teaching. And so I sat down with him and I said, dude, what are your fears? What are your objections? Like, what are you trying to overcome? And he's like, dude, that 40 calls a day and the Zillow leads and all this stuff, like, it's exhausting. I'm like, I don't disagree. It can work, right? Because volume works. But what we did is we sat down and we looked at what's his skill set and what are his interests, right? And so he naturally is comfortable in like networking events. That's okay for him. And he loves cigars and he was just getting into whiskey. And I was like, great. So we built a whole networking business development strategy around cigar lounges and whiskey tastings. And what he did is 2 or 3 times a week, he would go to cigar lounges and he would buy cigars and talk to the owner of the shop and the manager and talk to the other people in there. And he started to have these bigger conversations. And yeah, he would mention, sure, I'm in real estate and, I do investing, because that was his kind of unique play, like flips and creative property. And so we built an interesting conversation starter for him, aligned with his hobbies and passions, and put him in comfortable environments. Fast track, a year later, he was the top producer at his brokerage as a first-year realtor. And he did it because he went out and just built this tremendous aligned network where people actually liked him and he actually cared about him. And then he did the rest of the process. He made connections for those people he nurtured. He did all the other things, but it started by putting him in a comfortable environment so that he wanted to go out. He wanted to build new relationships. He didn't sit in the car in the parking lot going, oh God, why am I here? We've all done that. Like I've done that too, right? So that's a big success story on like just re-engineering the process to fit your personality, your hobbies, your interests, and then set up the process to carry you through.
I love that, man. That's a really great idea. So you're like, okay, what are your interests? This is where your people are hanging out, right? And then creating a framework to create the relationships in order to grow quicker.
100%. Yeah. I mean, especially as a realtor, he doesn't need to go to another BNI group unless he's locking someone out, or go to another chamber event where there's 19 realtors in the room. Like he's not going to stand out. But when he's in the coffee shop or the cigar lounge or a different environment where you're the only player in the space and you're focused on that core principle of there's value in every relationship, man, it opens up a ton of opportunity.
So talk to me about your follow-up. By the way, I'm shaking my head because I'm like, yeah, I mean, obviously, preaching to the preacher right now, which I'm like, yeah, say that again. And then that, right? Because I really feel like everybody is just, all right, I'm going to put out ads. What's my ad strategy? And what's my ad strategy? And I'm like, time out for 1 second, right? You can't even convert the people that are coming in now. That's the problem. Sometimes the problem isn't your lead gen. The problem is your conversion, right? The problem is your rapport building. The problem is, how are you taking the leads and making them clients? Because sure, you can get 100 leads that come in, 200 leads that come in on a month, right? If you don't have a system to sell, if you don't have a system to close, then it doesn't matter. Right. And everybody's focused, I think, these days on like the leads and the lead gen and the lead gen and the lead gen. And I'm like, can you guys step back and understand that there's a better way? Like there's a better way. Through relationships, you can 10x your business. And I've had this guy. I just finished speaking on stage at the 8-Figure Firm Mastermind. I had my first podcast, right? My first podcast was with Lewis Scott, who runs 8-Figure Firm 5 years ago. We created this relationship, multi-7-figure relationship off of one person, right? And so I'm like, you guys are over here playing checkers with ads, and I got to do ads, right? And Brad Lee was speaking at this event too, right? And it was amazing hearing him talk, because he was preaching the same thing, right? Like relationships. Who do you know? Who knows you? It isn't really about who do you know. It's really about who knows you, and positioning yourself at that spot so that when people are ready to make the decision to go, oh, he solves this problem, and it's super clear that you solve that problem, that all of a sudden it's just like, it is a fire hose of fucking leads, right? Like it's a fire hose of leads, and qualified leads of people that want to work with you right now. And I'm like, the mindset here, when people just don't get it, really like boggles my mind, which is why I love talking to people like you, because I'm like, good. We're talking about the same thing, guys. Like, I got to speak with the giftology people. I met a guy, Brian McCrae. We're once again, preaching to the preacher type stuff. So I really do appreciate these conversations where you're all like, yes, here's the story. There's a better way to do it. And it's a more fun way to do it, right? Like, why do you want to like bash your head against the wall dealing with a strategy that has zero rapport, zero connection, zero relationships? It's all transactional. Like, how do you build a business that way? Like, you don't build a business that way. And if you do, it is just abrasive and hard, and it just lacks so much heart, and connection, and all of the things that make life these days worth living, in my opinion, right? At 45, I'm like, you give a shit about, all of this other stuff. I'm like, am I having a good time every day? Like, do I want to talk to Devin today? You know what I mean? Like, do I want to get on this podcast and, and like learn new, modes of psychology in this space, like, yes, that is what I'm all about, right? And I'm sure once we get off this conversation, there's like so much alignment here where I'm like, yes, love this, right? And so I feel like once we start thinking in this way, it just continues to accelerate, right? Where we want to be. So yeah, no, love that. Love that. So
100%.
Yeah. So talk to me about what is the mindset that people are having right now that are like,
yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head, right? Like, that's why I was sitting here nodding and laughing, right? I'm actually hosting a webinar and it's Stop Selling, Start Connecting. And the whole idea is, if we look at sales or marketing advice, it's very tactic heavy. And those tactics are great. Like, there are really good nuggets out there on how to get more leads and how to close more people. With our system, it actually doesn't really matter, because people come in so aligned and so edified that they buy, right? And so a quote that I like to tell everyone is, everybody wants to buy, no one wants to be sold. Yet so often these tactics and lead gen strategies are trying to sell people. I don't need to sell anyone. When I'm introduced to people, it's like, you need to meet Devin, whatever the cost of his thing is, you need in. Like that's how intros come in. Or connections come in and they go, dude, Devin's been adding a ton of value. You got to connect with them. That's it. Boom. Now we have a meeting because there's collaboration, right? And there's aligned value. And so I think people are trying, to your point, to solve problems that are the wrong problems, right? If you need volume, yes, but there's a better way to do it. One exercise I do with everyone is, I guarantee you your biggest deal is currently in your network. I guarantee it. I guarantee the biggest deal you've ever seen is currently in your network. The problem is, you're looking at your network on the one level of purchase, right? Can my network buy from me? I could care less. Can my network bring me into rooms where I am the authority in front of a lot of people who can buy from me? That's more attractive. Can my network put me on a podcast that gives me an exposure and a platform for voice? That's more attractive. Can my network put me in a mastermind where I'm on stage and I'm the authority, or I'm in the workshop, or I'm on the hot seats providing value to these high paying members that are investing in themselves? That's attractive. Stop it. Stop it. Stop just trying to lead gen to calls to close. Go out there, and even in your current network, and re-engineer your network to produce. We're on pace this year to receive over 3,000 inbound connections with zero marketing other than putting on social the content we create.
Mic drop. Mic drop. Like, golly, boy, if I could get a megaphone and just really like shout it in people's ears, because they just don't get it. And the people that do get it, stratospheric success, 10x their business. Like, I see it time and time again. I work with clients, right, that I'm explaining it to them, right? And I'm like, guys, you're sitting on like multi-7 figure, and they just don't get, like, mindset wise, they're just like, they don't get it, right? And I'm like, okay, I see that you have mental blocks and limiting beliefs about all of the head trash that you have in your head. So I've got to overcome that, right? But the minute that they have the breakthrough, right? The minute that they have that epiphany, it's like game on, man. It's like game on. And then it's just like, it's like a rocket ship, right? And I'm like, hallelujah. You know what I mean? Like, you just got to fix this, really, right? Like, I think it's the mindset that needs to shift. If you can shift the paradigm, shift the mindset, and start rolling into the strategies and the frameworks of what you're talking about, right? Whatever it is that you decide to do relationship wise, whether giftology and your strategy or podcasting or whatever, right? Like, all of that works because people are people, right? A human being is a human being. They're predictable, right? Applebee's knows how much food that they have to buy on a Friday, right? Because it's predictable that that's what's happening. If there's a Saints game going on, I'm a Saints guy. So are you a Raiders fan?
Well, we'll forgive you. No, I'm a Niners fan because I'm closer to the Bay, but
well, you guys beat us a week ago. we're like not even. Did you see the massacre that Seattle put on us? Anyway, but my point is that when you're focused on like shifting that mindset, and that people are people, and you can start to really lean into the predictability of how people operate, because they just want to trust. They just want to, they don't want to look foolish. They want to buy because they want to buy, right? And that we're actually solving problems. And if we can come from that place of like help, then people are like, oh yeah, let's go. Love that. You know what I mean? And it doesn't feel so forced. Force is just like, that's the thing that people are like, they think they're going to force their way through. And like, look, can you force deals? Of course, but wouldn't you rather just create deals that are just, they make sense and it's just frictionless and it's more on the abundant mindset and growth, sort of high vibrational frequency like that's where we want to play. Right. And I'm like all day. Right. How do people work with you, by the way?
Yeah, so connectionexpansion.com is what I tell everyone. Go there. ACES Connection Group is the place to start. So it's my free school community. And my whole masterclass is in there. We bring experts on and share advice. And then we do what we call connection blitzes, which is a totally different take on networking. It's actually how I meet new people, but I open that up to you to meet the same people I'm meeting at the same time. And so come hang out with us in one of those ways or grab the book, whatever works. Grab the one nugget and implement it today. Don't get overwhelmed by the whole process.
I love it, man. And what, give me the sites again.
Yeah. Connectionexpansion.com.
Connectionexpansion.com. And you have a school group and you've got a community.
100%. I
love it, man. Devin, obviously love that we're both in Speakeasy. We'll be in touch. Thank you so much for coming on, man. What a breath of fresh air. I love, like I said, man, love the preaching to the preacher aspect of this because I'm like, hallelujah, 100%.
Yeah, build relationships. I promise it's better than whatever else you're trying.
Heck yeah. And that was Spaghetti on the Wall, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by Leduc Entertainment for all of your production needs, podcasts, content, videos. We got you. Keep listening, keep watching, and we'll see y'all next time.